Hello, welcome to Anita the Pedagogue channel. Today, we want to continue with our literature lessons. We want to look at a prose or short story analysis. The story is The Old Man and His Children by Jane Austen. Let's take a look at our lesson objectives for today. So you should be able to talk about the title, the setting of the story, the point of view, the plot analysis, be able to explore the characters, the literary devices in the story, be able to mention and explain some themes, and also we'll take a look at some likely examination questions. Now let's begin with the title. So The Old Man and His Children. This is a title that gives the reader an idea about the story, that the story is going to be about an old man and his children. So the story reveals two main stories actually. The first is the story of a grandfather and his twin grandsons, and the story of an old man and his 7 sons. So, to let you know a background of this is that the story of the old man and his 7 sons is an Aesop fable, which was titled The Bundle of Sticks. So that is the story that has been retold by Jane Austen, and so there is a bit of difference from the original story, but the idea is still the same. Let's continue. Want to look at the setting of the story, and we know that the setting is usually the time and place a story or an event happens. So this particular story is set under the Mugumo tree. The Mugumo tree is a strangler fig, or looks like a fig, on the compound of the home of Kamal and his family. So the Mugumo tree is usually a tree that is considered sacred by the Kikuyu society in Kenya. The story happens during the day, so we know that the place the story is set is under the Mugumo tree on the compound of the home of Kamal, and the time is during the day. This is because during the day, cattle are taken out to feed, and also the weather must have been hot for Kamal to sit under the shady Mugumo tree. We move on to look at the point of view. So, the point of view is the angle from which the story is told. And this story is narrated in third person. This is because the narrator of the story is not a part of the story. And so we see the use of the third person pronouns: it, she, they, their. And so we know that this story is being told from the third person narrative point of view. Let's move on and look at the plot analysis. The plot is the sequence of events of a story, how a story unfolds. So for the plot, we usually have the beginning or the exposition, then the rising action, the climax where we have the peak of the story, we have the fallen action, and the conclusion or the resolution of the story. So let's take a look at the exposition or beginning of the story. So here we see the main character Kamal introduced, and we see that he's been deprived of his afternoon sleep due to the quarreling of his 2 grandsons, Muangi and Njoroge. The rising action of the story unfolds when the cause of the incessant quarrel is revealed. It was Muangi's turn to move the cattle, and he asked for help from Njoroge, his brother, who declined to help him and continued to play. So this led to a fist fight which saw their mother, who came to separate them, box their ears and threatened to report them to their father. The story progresses to the climax where we see Kamal gathers his two grandsons and tells them a story of a fellow old man who had 7 sons. The old man picks 7 sticks and gives them to each of them to break, which they all easily break. Then he puts the 7 sticks together as a bunch and gives it to each of them to break once again. But this time round, none of them is able to break the bunch of sticks. The following action and conclusion of the story occurs when Kamal explains the moral of the story to Muangi and Njoroge. That if they always fight and quarrel, their enemies will defeat them, for they will be divided like the single sticks which were easily broken by the 7 sons. In contrast, if they come together to work and live together peacefully like the bundle of sticks, they will be like a community. They cannot be defeated by their enemies. Rather, they will be strong as a united front. Kamal. Kamal is the main character of the story. He is the grandfather of Muangi and Njoroge. He is an old man who spends his afternoons resting under the shady mugomo tree. He is calm and composed as he doesn't shout or scold his grandsons for disturbing his afternoons. Instead, he represents a man of wisdom. He uses the story of the bundle of sticks to counsel his grandsons to be of good behavior and be united. Let's look at the character Muangi. Muangi is a young boy who is usually in a quarrel with his brother over house chores. According to Njoroge, Muangi does not fulfill his promise of helping him milk the cattle even when he helps him with the cattle. He is quick-tempered as he was the first to start the fight by kicking his brother's hoop away angrily. In the end, his act of his grip on his legs, pressed his face against them, showed how sober he became when his grandfather told them the story of the old man and his 7 sons. Let's go on and look at the character Njoroge. He is the twin brother of Muangi. His chore is to milk the cattle. He has a strong will as he refuses to help his brother with the cattle on grounds that he doesn't fulfill his promises. He likes to chase his hoop. Again, Njoroge's dash drawing became even more feverish. This quotation explains how uncomfortable and full of regret he was when his grandfather called him together with his brother after their fight to counsel them, as he told them the story of the old man with his 7 sons. Let's look at the character Mother, the mother of Muangi and Njoroge. So she is the mother of the 2 boys. She is a disciplinarian as she separates the 2 boys from their fights, gives them a good scolding, and boxes their ears for punishment. She also threatens to report them to their father if they engage in any fight again. She can be described as a good mother who has the interest of her sons at heart. So these are the characters that we'll be looking at. We will now move on and look at some literary devices in the story. The single sticks are described with the human attribute weakness, while the bundle of sticks is given the human attribute strength. Simile. Comparing 2 things using as, like, or than. Our first example is, it is same with people as with sticks. So here we see that people are being compared with sticks. Again, we see our next example. On its fig-like fruits, mouse birds, green parrots were quietly feeding. Here we see the mugumo tree being compared to a fig. There's also been the use of an idiom, and an idiom is usually a group of words or phrases, and they are not meant to be taken literally, so they usually have a deeper meaning. We see this in this extract. The sight of Njoroge coolly continuing with his game of hoopstick was the last straw. So here, last straw as an idiom means was the final issue that caused him to take an action. So the last straw means the final issue or the apex of a matter. Also, we have the literary device hyperbole, and our example is: soon blows and insults were flying to and fro between the boys. So hyperbole or hyperbole, as some others also refer to it, is a literary device that is exaggeration or extreme exaggeration. And we all know that blows and insults do not have wings to fly. So this expression has a lot of exaggeration. We also have the literary device symbolism, and we see Kamal to be a symbol who represents wisdom, a man of wisdom. Also, the single sticks in the story represents weakness. The bundle of sticks also represents strength. So, when we talk about symbolism, it means using one thing to represent another thing. And we see Kamal to represent wisdom, a man of wisdom. And also the single sticks represents weakness and the bundle of sticks represents strength. We also have the use of oxymoron, where two contradictory words are put side by side. So our example is: at this point, the twins' mother rushed out of her hut to pull the boys apart, box their ears, and give them a good scolding. So, good scolding. Scolding is not something that is supposed to be fun or good. So, putting these two contradictory words side by side tells us that this is the use of the literary device or the figure of speech oxymoron. Our next literary device is alliteration. Alliteration is the repetition of consonant sound, initial consonant sounds in words. So, our example is: began to draw pictures in the dust with one fast and furious forefinger. We see the consonants F repeated in fast, furious, and forefinger. Also, we see the literary device imagery that appeals to our sense of sight. So Njoroge flung himself down beside the old man's stool and began to draw pictures in the dust with one fast and furious forefinger, while Muangi sat hugging his knees. There's also been the use of onomatopoeia. Our example is: Njoroge flung himself down beside the old man's stool. It went out spinning madly away, and Njoroge shouted and lashed out angrily at his brother. So onomatopoeia is representing sounds with words. There are various themes that can be derived from the story The Old Man and His Children. So one theme is unity is strength, disunity is weak, or united we stand, divided we fall. So the key idea this story projects is for people to come together and work peacefully to achieve positive results. It also condemns division among people as it leads to failure and weakness. The story of the old man with 7 sons highlights the lesson through the use of the single sticks, which signifies division and weakness, and the bundle of sticks, which represents strength. Living peacefully and being united leads to strength. Anytime we quarrel and fight, we become weak and fail to progress or achieve positive results. Hence, we should always be united. Another theme we can look at is a strong community is one that has peace, but a community that quarrels is weak. No society can develop and obtain success when they do not have peace. This is evident in countries that have been hit by tribal conflicts, wars, or various kinds of disagreements. In the story, Kamal shares with his sons. It is realized that when people work together peacefully, they are stronger and can achieve a lot of things. We see this in this quotation: our village is strong, for we all work together and live peacefully. At this point, I would like us to look at some likely examination questions. Though the old man's eyes were closed, he could not sleep. Why couldn't he sleep? Why didn't Njoroge want to help Muangi with the house chores? What made Muangi angry? And how did he react in his anger? What was the moral of the story Kamal narrated? Mention and explain one theme of the story. What is the narrative point of view of the story? Once there was an old man who had 7 sons. They should have been his pride and joy, but they were not. The above extract is a or an dash to a story. The idea expressed in the second sentence is that of dash. Under which tree was Kamal sitting? In the story, sticks in a bundle represent what? Again, in the story, sticks that are separated represents what? What is the twins' relationship to the old man? I would not. Would? Wouldn't. The dialogue above is between. So at this point, we bring our lesson to an end. Let's do a quick recap. We've looked at the title. The title suggests to us that the story is going to be about an old man and his children. The story is set under a mugumo tree at the compound of Kamal and his family during the daytime. The story began with the introduction of the main character Kamal and his 2 grandsons who were always quarreling. He told them a story of an old man with 7 sons and how they all couldn't break the bundle of 7 sticks he gave them. But when he gave them each stick, they were able to break them. And how that signified that if they were together, they would be united and no enemy would be able to conquer them. But if they were divided, then they'll be easily conquered by their enemies. Also, we learned about the point of view, and we realized that the story is written in the 3rd person narrative point of view. We looked at the character developments of Kamal, Muangi, Njoroge, and the mother of the twin boys. We looked at some literary devices, the themes, and some likely examination questions. I hope this lesson was useful. Put in your comments and questions and I'll respond to you. Do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Until I come your way again, keep learning and be the best version of yourself.